Hello everybody, my name's Alan and you're watching Guns, Gear, and Outdoors Alaska. I'm here with Matt from Alaska Frontier 1, and this is part 2 of a video about the practicality of the Desert Eagle, where we're going to discuss the target. If you haven't seen part 1, head on over to Matt's channel, that's Alaska Frontier 1, and check it out. But here we have our target. I just finished my last run, and I think it was maybe these two? It's two of these. Yeah. Two good shots. But reliability wise, the only hiccup we had today was me accidentally engaging the slide stop on the Desert Eagle here, which I kind of shoot a high modern grip. It's something you can do on there. But yeah, so you own the gun. What do you think reliability wise?
So as far as reliability goes, I mean, I really liked that happened for you. I mean, not necessarily because, kind of you got one less shot, but I will say, there is a case to auto loaders. There is things like the slide stop that can be engaged. So there's more that could potentially go wrong. But as far as the actual shooting and overall reliability, so long as you make modifications to the magazine and, you keep the gun properly lubed and properly clean, reasonably clean, it runs just fine. The biggest issue I've noticed with a lot of new shooters, and I was actually surprised Alan didn't have any issues with it, but he also has shot in large caliber handguns before, but most new shooters will end up trying to compensate and hold the Desert Eagle too hard, and the problem is with the Desert Eagle, it has so much recoil that it can induce a limp wrist, because you're not unlike a 9mm where you can strong arm a 9mm, you're not going to be able to strong arm a 50 AE. It just has too much force to it. So you have to kind of learn to go with the flow, similar to how you would with a 44 Magnum revolver, 44 Casull, any of those larger calibered handguns. You're going to have to learn how to compensate for it. But once you do that, I really haven't had any issues, and I think with today's total, I've through my ownership, I think about 100 rounds through this gun, so not an incredibly high round count, but also ammo was about $3.50 a round. So for those, wondering why haven't I put more rounds through it, it's just more a kind of a financial thing. But yeah, overall,
yeah. I came into this very skeptical of the Desert Eagle as a practical tool, and there are a lot of things about it that I don't like. I don't think I'm going to run out and buy one, but when you actually get down to shooting it, it performed a lot better than I thought. And even though you have a lot more power than a 44 Magnum revolver in 50 AE, I thought it was easier to shoot well and place rounds on target. But everything other than the shooting experience on it, I'm not really a fan of. It's big. It's chunky, and the ammunition cost was another thing. When Matt was telling me how much it costs, it's really hard to practice often as much as you should when it's $350 a round for the ammunition.
Not to allude too much to my side of the video, but you'll see in the first round when it was me up as the shooter, I actually got a little bit flustered and partly forgot to throw off the safety, partly struggled to throw off the safety, and hypothetically, if it was a real bear, it would have totally mauled me and I wouldn't have gotten a round off. And that's kind of almost embarrassing, because it's that's why you have the handgun, is to protect yourself from a bear. So if you can't effectively do that because you didn't train enough, or you didn't have access or financial ability to train enough with the handgun, that is another issue as a whole. And like Alan was saying too, it looks cool probably to you guys in the video, but this thing is pretty hefty. Fully loaded, it's about 4 pounds of steel, lead, copper, brass, all that. And so it's a lot to carry around. And if you're backpacking or hiking, let's say 8 miles, speaking from personal experience, it starts to wear on you that this is a hefty gun and it weighs quite a bit. So that is definitely a downfall.
You're one of those backpackers counting your ounces. You're probably not going to go with the Desert Eagle.
Definitely not. I think unless you have a very, very specific cause to, have the Desert Eagle, you're probably not going to be carrying it.
Yeah, and we got the gun clear and safe now. Do you want to show them what you've learned about the safety with that?
Yeah, so not to muzzle anyone here, but I think the biggest thing I've learned when it comes to the Desert Eagle in practice, and I'm very grateful that Alan had me out to do this kind of simulation, is that when a bear is really charging you, what I've found is that, you think, I guess going into this, I thought I could just pull my gun out, flick the safety off, and, aim it and fire. But in practice, it really was when the seconds and like moments are on the line, you really just end up hitting it with your support hand. And I guess I'll get a little bit closer to the camera to kind of show this. But what I was really ending up doing was just hitting this with my offhand and then shooting like that. So I thought, like I said, I could just flick it out, flick off the safety, but it's very impractical. And I think Alan had similar experiences where, you know, when a bear's charging you, this seems practical, but realistically, you pull it out, you just flick it off and with your support hand.
So, yeah, I did what he told me about that when he did his run, and I used my offhand to take off the safety. And I think that's the worst thing about the gun ergonomically is that safety. It's terrible. It's because you really can't get it. I have pretty small hands. I can't reach it with my shooting hand, and not being able to employ the gun very well with one hand is definitely a downside because you never know what kind of sticky situation.
Yeah.
You might have your one arm in the bear's mouth and have to take it out and shoot it, and you're gonna struggle a little bit.
Or, I mean, like what I find myself a lot, like on my channel, you probably see a lot of B-roll from Alaska and the beauty. And that means that oftentimes when I'm hiking, in my left hand, I'm carrying my GoPro for, you know, beauty scenery shots. So if in that situation a bear did come out and I just had to just draw, this hand is holding something. And hopefully, I hope in that situation, I would know to drop whatever I'm holding and support my gun. But you just never know how it's going to end up. Ultimately.
Yeah, and as far as recoil goes, that's one thing I was surprised how little there was, even though you're shooting a 350 grain bullet. At how fast is that thing going?
So the 350 grain goes at 1350 or 1,350 feet per second, and then the 300 grain goes about 1,500 feet per second.
Yeah, and that's quite a bit of oomph, and I was surprised the weight of the gun and that compensator and everything. It really did a good job at taming that recoil. I thought it was about the same or less than a 44 revolver, and it was easier for me to put rounds on target in a hurry. But
for sure.
Yeah, do you got any other thoughts you want to close with?
No, I will just kind of reinforce, definitely, whenever I've had a handful of friends shoot this gun before, and I'm like, it does not kick as hard as you'd think. A lot of people get intimidated because they see that big round, they see those statistics of like 350 grains moving at 1350 feet per second. They're like, wow, it's going to kick hard. But yeah, if you've shot a 44 Magnum, at least with the compensated version of this handgun, if you've shot a 44, you can definitely handle a 50 AE. And so that is, I think, a pretty big plus because you do get, of course, more energy than in a 44 Magnum, but with still really good shootability.
So, good shootability, good power, heavy, bad ergonomics.
Yes, I would confirm that that's pretty much definitely a good way to summarize the Desert Eagle. Sometimes too poor reliability if it's not well maintained, or you know, if you're using the wrong magazines, because like I said, similar to like a 1911, they are very picky about their magazines, but that can factor into it.
So I guess like a lot of things you see here on my channel, it's not all black and white. I'm coming away thinking I thought the Desert Eagle was just terrible, like it only belonged in action movies and that it was kind of ridiculous, but I guess my takeaway is it's not as bad as I thought it was. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you had that realization, and that's the whole reason I got the Desert Eagle. For some people that wonder, you know, is this something that I really rely on or bet my life on? Sometimes I do take it out, and you can see that there is enough logistical enough logistical evidence to back up that it could be useful, but ultimately it's just fun to experiment with and see, you know, could a Desert Eagle perform in this type of environment?
Yeah, nah. This is the 50 AE model, just so you guys know. I've shot the 44 model before, and I'd stay away from that one just because you're shooting a rimmed revolver cartridge that wasn't made to run an autoloader. They're not nearly as reliable. And the only malfunction we had today was user-induced by me. So, I think,
confirm that.
Do you think anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. I think that was pretty good. And I mean, ultimately, the proof's in the pudding. Like, the results speak for themselves. You know, the Desert Eagle speaks for itself. So, yeah, I think it was really fun. And like I said, I'm very grateful that you allowed me to come out here, shoot the bear, because it's just, I know this isn't the most practical thing for everyone watching, but man, it really makes a big difference when you can have something charging towards you and a kind of unspoken time clock to get hits, to get, results. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you guys have a place where it's safe to set this up, I'd encourage you to do it.
Definitely.
But yeah, otherwise, check out Matt's channel, Alaska Frontier 1. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you think I deserve it, and have a good one.
Cool. Okay. And this is running on your SD card, so.
Do my intro then.
Yep. Guess you can hold this part too. I know it's weird.
My fly's been undone this whole time.
That's